So NFL free agency is well underway. I'm recording this March 11th, 2025 in the morning. And the Dynasty landscape has changed, but not in the way a lot of people think. So let's examine some of the free agent signings thus far, examine their impact in the Dynasty rankings, and then give some recommendations. Should we be buying these players? Should we be selling these players? So without further ado, let's get started. And we'll just start. These are in no particular order. Khalil Shakir signed a 4-year extension worth up to $60.2 million, including $32 million guaranteed, and there's no doubt Khalil Shakir deserves to be risen up the rankings, especially considering the other move the Bills made at wide receiver was to sign Joshua Palmer, and it doesn't really look like, they're going to need to add some more wide receivers and some more pass catchers to their room, no doubt about it, but it kind of looks like Shakir is going to be the guy there. Now, could they make a surprising move and maybe bring back Stephon Diggs? Not likely because of the history there. Or bring back Amari Cooper or something like that. I think that's possible, but there's no doubt that Khalil Shakir is a big winner here. Now let's talk about the one that's been pretty controversial, and I'll give my take on it. Justin Fields signing a 2-year, $40 million deal with the Jets, $30 million guaranteed. And let's not forget that Justin Fields has never attempted more than 370 pass attempts in a single season ever before. But it's also true that Justin Fields did propel DJ Moore to have one of the best seasons of his career. But I could argue too that DJ Moore was largely responsible for that as well. And there is currently absolutely no target competition for Garrett Wilson on the Jets. So we'll see what they do. They could certainly add somebody else to that wide receiver room, but to me, Garrett Wilson's value should stay about the same because I think those two things are going to balance each other out. The pass attempts are going to go down in New York. They're going to focus on running the ball. That feels like Aaron Glenn's vibe, and that's also the strength of a Justin Fields offense is using him in the running game, but there's also no target competition. So I do think some of those things balance out. So let me know what you think about this in the comments, but overall, I think Garrett Wilson's value should stay about the same. I'm holding him if I have him. If I get the Godfather offer for him because somebody thinks Justin Fields is going to propel him to be an elite wide receiver in Dynasty, I'll gladly trade him away. That's how I feel about it. Now, DK Metcalf, acquired in a trade with the Seahawks in exchange for a 2025 second-round pick and a late-round pick swap. He immediately signed a 4-year, $132 million extension with Pittsburgh, according to Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport. And the trade won't be official till March 12th. And it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out because Metcalf and Pickens are both similar in a lot of ways. Both are alpha type wide receivers that have the traits to be alphas, especially Metcalf. But both players have largely disappointed to this point. And for me personally, I'm probably going to move Metcalf down my rankings slightly because as of this recording, and this could change, it probably will change as soon as I post this video, the Steelers don't have a quarterback. And the rumors don't give me much confidence that either of these wide receivers are going to finish anything better than a low-end wide receiver 2 because of that uncertainty at quarterback and because that's what they've proven to be throughout their careers, especially over the last 3 to 4 seasons. Just go look at DK Metcalf's fantasy points per game. I'm not too excited about this. It's a flashy move for Pittsburgh, but overall, I would say Metcalf moves down the rankings slightly, and I would be more than fine trading him away if I get the right offer. Now, Marquise Brown re-signed with Kansas City 1 year, worth up to $11 million. And I like this for Marquise Brown. I like it for Kansas City. I think this is a win-win. I think he moves up the rankings, especially considering the uncertainty surrounding Rashee Rice. He's likely going to get suspended, and the Chiefs don't have much cap space to add competition to the room. So I think Marquise Brown is going to play a pivotal role in the offense. I think Andy Reid's going to find creative ways to get him involved, and I think this is going to be good for fantasy, and he's really cheap right now, so I would be buying Marquise Brown. Now let's talk quarterback. And Geno Smith, he was acquired in a trade with the Seahawks in exchange for a 2025 third-round pick. He's now with the Las Vegas Raiders, rather. And I think Geno Smith's a slight upgrade at quarterback to what they had last season, and this should be a good thing for Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers. Smith is a solidifying presence at quarterback, and he was actually really good. He He's actually really accurate. He was number 10 amongst quarterbacks in accuracy rating and number 3 in deep ball completion percentage. I think Brock Bowers can't go much higher. Jacoby Myers, I think, becomes a sneaky buy. And Geno Smith, his value stays about the same because I think it's a low-key good situation in Las Vegas, but let me know what you think in the comments. Now, let's move to a tricky one. Najee Harris agreed to a 1-year deal worth up to $9.25 million. And I'd be careful with Najee Harris because on the surface, this looks great. He steps into an offense that ranked number 10 in run play percentage last year. Last season, J.K. Dobbins rushed the ball 195 times in 13 games, caught 32 passes on 38 targets, and it would appear as though Harris steps right into that role with no other running backs of note on the roster as of right now. However, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers add another running back in the NFL draft. So while he does rise up the rankings, because he will go up the rankings, I would be personally putting him on the trade block to see what I can get for him, because this is just a 1-year deal and we don't know what the Chargers are going to do in the NFL draft. So again, if you're a win now team, I think you're holding, but I'd be seeing what people are feeling out there to see if I can get, a pretty decent return for Najee Harris. So I'd be putting him on the trade block. Another player I'd be putting on the trade block is Deebo Samuel, acquired in a trade with the 49ers in exchange for a 5th round pick. This is great for his short-term value, so he's going to rise up the Dynasty rankings for sure, but we can't forget about his injury history, and Samuel relies heavily on his athleticism and his run after the catch ability. So once he starts to lose a step, and maybe the 49ers saw this and maybe that's why they decided to trade him away, he's likely not a player that's going to age very well. So I would be looking to trade him. I would be looking to ride this buzz and get what I can for him in Dynasty. Now, I do want to talk about a situation that I think is primed for a running back, depending on what the Chicago Bears decide to do. They literally rebuilt the interior of their offensive line with solid, proven veteran players. They traded for Jonah Jackson, then they traded for Joe Thuney, and then they signed the best center on the free agent market, Drew Dahlman. And whatever the Bears decide to do in the NFL draft, the rumor is that they're into the Ohio State running backs, Quinshon Judkins, maybe Omarion Hampton, and Trevion Henderson. This just became a premier destination for a rookie running back because, Roschon Johnson has not been what many of us thought he could be, and DeAndre Swift wasn't good last year. Whatever the Bears decide to do, and I would almost guarantee you, and I'm speaking as a Bears fan here, so I have my Bears goggles on, I have my Bears beer goggles on. I think that one of those picks in the second round, either I think it's 39 or 41, it wouldn't shock me if one of those picks is Omarion Hampton or Quinshon Judkins. And if that happens, goodbye DeAndre Swift. I would be trying to cash out on DeAndre Swift to get whatever I could. It's going to be wheels up for one of those players, and I love what they're doing on the offensive line. Aaron Jones re-signed on a 2-year, $20 million deal with $13 million guaranteed. The Vikings invested quite a lot of money into Aaron Jones here, and while I wouldn't be surprised if they added another running back in the NFL draft, there's no doubt Aaron Jones becomes a perfect stopgap running back for a contender in Dynasty. He's going to be productive, whether it's J.J. McCarthy or Daniel Jones or whoever they have at quarterback. I think Aaron Jones is going to be an effective member of the running back room. And like I said, even if they bring somebody in, Aaron Jones would be one of my targets if I was a contender. Let's talk Chris Godwin. He's returning to Tampa Bay on a 3-year, $66 million deal with $44 million guaranteed. This is great for Chris Godwin, and it's great for Baker Mayfield as well. The change in offensive coordinator does give me some pause, but it's clear that Godwin works best in the slot. Hopefully they plan to keep him in that role. I would assume that they do I assume that they will because they signed him to a relatively big deal here. But don't forget that Godwin is coming off of a gruesome ankle injury, so he might not be 100% to start the season. However, I do acknowledge his value does go up as a result of this move, and I would be looking to buy if I was a contender. Davante Adams agreed to a 2-year contract worth $46 million, $26 million guaranteed, a $12 million signing bonus. It must be nice to be Davante Adams. This is great for him, and it likely spells the end of Cooper Kupp's time in LA. This isn't necessarily great for Puka Nacua, but Puka Nacua is still going to get plenty of targets, so I'm not worried about him in the slightest. But Adams, on the other hand, he still has some juice left, and clearly LA feels the same way, given the contract they just handed out. Stafford's the perfect quarterback to support both of these guys in a Sean McVay scheme that's likely going to be very, very effective. I like this quite a bit for fantasy, but Adams is a buy for a win now team only. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold signed a 3-year, $100.5 million deal with $55 million guaranteed, $37.5 million in year one. And this one's fascinating because we aren't sure if Darnold can replicate his 2024 season without Kevin O'Connell. It's unlikely actually that he can, but he doesn't have to do that for him to be relevant for us in fantasy. And I think at the end of the season, it was very concerning, at least to me, for Darnold long term. But he did play well overall throughout the season, so we're going to see. And I think he should be moved up the Dynasty rankings a bit. But the real winner here is Jackson Smith and Jigba. JSN went from being in a wide receiver room with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf to his top competition at wide receiver being Jake Bobo. And they still could do something at wide receiver. Who knows? There's still a lot of time in the offseason. Obviously, we have the NFL draft ahead of us. But JSN clearly is a top 12 wide receiver in Dynasty. And you can make the case for him being top 8, maybe even higher than that. Those are the signings, at least the major ones as of right now. There are probably some other ones that are going to happen over the next several days. But I wanted to get this video out to you as soon as I possibly could. Let me know what you think of all that in the comments. Let me know which players you're rising up your rankings, lowering down your rankings. Let me know which players you're buying and selling. And until next time, be good, everybody, and we will see you later.